The absolute truth about who actually saves the legendary untouchable Jason is going to blow your minds. And if you ask me, nobody in Port Charles is prepared for the absolute storm that is about to hit. We have all been sitting on the edge of our seats, waiting for the high stakes rescue mission of the decade, believing that the heavy hitters of the underworld and the intelligence community would be the ones to pull off the ultimate miracle. Everyone in town has been placing their bets on the dark, brooding kingpin Sonny, the brilliant tech genius Brick, or the legendary, ice cool super spy Anna to track down the coordinates and bring the silent protector of Port Charles back home. But hold on to your seats, because the real mastermind behind this jaw-dropping, heart-stopping operation is someone so unexpected, so shockingly young, that it changes the entire power dynamic of the family forever. Let's set the stage, guys, because Port Charles is currently a raging powder keg of chaos, trauma, and unresolved vengeance. While the adults are completely consumed by their own destructive wars, a massive, silent crisis has been unfolding. We have Sonny wrestling with his own internal demons, his bipolar disorder keeping him on a razor-thin edge as he desperately tries to figure out how to dismantle the terrifying reign of gens once and for all. At the exact same time, Anna is drowning in administrative nightmares and field disasters, trying to track down the ruthless Ross who has turned the town upside down by kidnapping Liesel and locking her up at Windermere alongside a trapped, desperate Jocelyn. With so many fires burning at once, the search for Jason, who is currently rotting in a highly secured, deeply classified WSB black site all the way in Jakarta, had seemingly hit a brick wall. The authorities were offering nothing but empty promises, and the mob empire was too distracted by the immediate threat of a bloody turf war to make any real headway. But while the grown-ups were busy looking at the big picture, one brave teenager refused to let the flame of hope die out. Danny simply could not, and would not, accept the narrative that his father was gone forever, or worse, that he had somehow turned his back on the people he loved. If you ask me, Danny has always possessed that quiet, intense fire that makes his father so legendary. While his mother and the rest of the family kept telling him to step back, to let the professionals do their jobs, and to focus on just being a kid, Danny's instincts were screaming that something was terribly wrong. He knew deep in his bones that his dad was alive, trapped, and waiting. And instead of just crying in his room, this kid decided to do what any true son of a legendary enforcer would do. He went to work. It all started with a quiet, desperate search through some of his father's old, discarded personal belongings. Danny was just looking for a connection, a memento, something to hold on to during these dark days. But instead, he stumbled upon a shocking discovery that changed everything. A highly customized, heavily encrypted legacy communication device that Jason had hidden away. To an ordinary person, it looked like a piece of useless, outdated tech, but to Danny, it was a lifeline. He knew he couldn't decipher the highly secure, military-grade data on his own without raising massive red flags, so he did something incredibly bold. He bypassed the adults entirely and recruited a small, ultra-secret circle of brilliant, tech-savvy teenage friends. Together, working out of dark bedrooms and using private servers, they began chipping away at the encryption. What they found inside was a treasure trove of raw, unedited data that the WSB thought they had scrubbed clean. As the layers of code began to peel back, a horrifying plot began to expose itself to these kids. Danny wasn't just looking at random numbers. He was looking at active, live satellite tracking logs and a repeating sequence of highly classified coordinates that pointed directly to a dark, off-the-grid facility in the humid depths of Jakarta. If you ask me, this was the moment Danny transitioned from a grieving boy into a true, calculating strategist. He realized his father hadn't abandoned his family. Jason had been set up, captured, and silenced by a rogue faction within the highest levels of the global intelligence community. But the mystery goes even deeper, guys. As Danny and his young crew dug through the digital breadcrumbs, they realized something absolutely stunning. This wasn't just a lucky break. A mysterious, unnamed insider deep within the WSB organization had deliberately left these specific digital breadcrumbs behind, hoping that someone with the right bloodline, the right determination, and the proper motivation would find them. It was a silent cry for help, a secret map left in the digital forest, and Danny was the only one smart enough to look closely enough to see it. He connected the dots that even the legendary Anna and the highly resourceful Brick had completely overlooked because they were too busy playing by the established rules of the spy game. Now, any normal teenager would have run straight to Sunny or Anna with this shocking information, screaming for help. But Danny knew better. He knew that if he walked into the penthouse or the police station with this data, the adults would immediately shut him down, confiscate the device, lock him in his room for his own safety, and likely ruin the element of surprise by launching a clumsy, bureaucratic investigation. He couldn't risk his father's life on their red tape. So Danny made a move so incredibly mature and calculated, it would make his father proud. He used an anonymous, untraceable, onion-routed network to package the coordinates and the facility blueprints, sending them directly to the private, secure terminals of Sunny, Brick, and Anna. He left absolutely no digital signature, no return address, nothing that could link the leak back to a teenager in Port Charles. When the encrypted files flashed onto Brick's screens and popped up on Anna's secure comms, the reaction was instant panic and intense excitement. They thought they had finally caught a massive break, believing their own intelligence networks had finally managed to intercept a major WSB slip-up. Sunny immediately mobilized his heavy-duty tactical assets, Brick secured the satellite overwatch, and Anna used her remaining clean contacts within the agency to authorize a deniable, high-intensity extraction raid. They flew halfway across the world to Jakarta under the cover of pitch-black darkness, believing they were executing a plan of their own making. We can only imagine the sheer explosive violence of that raid. The rescue team tore through the secret Jakarta black site like a hurricane, catching the rogue captors completely off guard. When they finally blew the heavy steel doors off the deepest, darkest cell in the subterranean complex, there he was, Jason. Battered, bruised, but still standing tall with that trademark, unbreakable spirit. The look of pure, unadulterated relief on Sunny's face when he saw his brother-in-arms alive must have been a sight to behold. They pulled him out of that hellhole, got him onto a private medical transport, and flew him straight back to the safety of Port Charles, celebrating what they believed was a flawless victory of their own design. But the ultimate twist was waiting for them back home. And let me tell you, it is an absolute masterpiece of dramatic irony. Once the dust settled and Jason was safely recovering on American soil, Anna's relentless detective instincts kicked in. She couldn't shake the feeling that the anonymous tip was just too perfect, too clean. She ran a highly sophisticated forensic sweep on the original encrypted files, tracing the packets back through the dark web, expecting to find a rogue agent, a foreign government, or a high-level defector. Instead, the digital trail led her straight back to a domestic IP address in Port Charles specifically, to a bedroom terminal belonging to Danny. When Anna brought this shocking revelation to Sunny and Brick, their jaws literally hit the floor. The great, powerful Sunny, who prides himself on knowing everything that happens in his city, had to face the reality that he was completely outmaneuvered and saved by a kid. The sheer shock and awe that rippled through the inner circle was nothing short of legendary. But the most beautiful, tear-jerking moment of this entire saga happens when Jason himself is finally told the truth. He is sitting there, expecting to thank Sunny for the rescue, or perhaps exchange a knowing nod with Anna. Instead, he learns that his savior wasn't a seasoned mercenary, a government agency, or a mob boss. It was his own flesh and blood. It was Danny. I am telling you, when Jason looks into Danny's eyes and realizes the sheer level of danger, intelligence, and bravery his son displayed to bring him home, the emotional payoff is going to be absolutely massive. For the first time, Jason won't see a child who needs to be shielded from the horrors of the world. He will see a partner, a survivor, and a true intellectual equal who carries his own unbreakable DNA. The emotional hug between father and son will undoubtedly go down in daytime history as one of the most powerful moments ever broadcast. But this is a soap opera, guys, and we know that no good deed goes unpunished in the dark, dangerous alleys of Port Charles. This incredible victory has just painted a massive, glowing target on a teenager's back. The shadowy, powerful forces behind the WSB Black Site and the original plot to keep Jason locked away forever are absolutely furious. They have quickly realized that their highly classified operation was compromised, not by an international agency, but by a local kid who managed to bypass their multi-million-dollar security systems. They cannot let this stand. As they begin to trace the leak back to its source, Danny suddenly finds himself thrust into the dead center of a terrifying international bullseye. If you ask me, this is the perfect high voltage setup for the next explosive chapter of our favorite daytime drama. Jason is finally back where he belongs, but instead of getting a moment of peace to heal, he is immediately forced to lock and load for the most important fight of his life. This time, he isn't fighting for Sonny's territory, he isn't fighting for some corporate empire, and he isn't fighting a government war. He is fighting to protect his own son from the very monsters he just escaped. Will Jason be able to keep Danny safe from the ruthless retaliation of the WSB, or has Danny's brilliant rescue mission accidentally sealed his own doom? Hold on to your seats, because the storm is just getting started.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.